All right, indeed. A very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this edition of The Tackle. It is the 21st, the 21st, I think, 21st of November 2022. Tarehe 21 mwezi wa 11 mwaka 2022. Natumai ya kwamba uko salama, ndio ready to tackle your day. It's another Monday, the common sense edition of the 21st of November 2022, and it begins right now. On Mondays, we talk about money, your life and money. Your life and money. Nguzunga maisha yako, anatanguzunguzia pia mambo ya hela. Life and Money, the common sense edition of the 21st of November 2022. Begins right now. Kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe. Alafu tukirudi najua ni vipi. Kama kawaida tuko na LEVI. Depends on where you went to school. Kama ulienda police station kama mimi ni LEVI. Tuko na LEVI Kones. Kama ulienda group of schools ni LEVI. Tuko na LEVI Kones. Good morning, LEVI.
Good morning.
Kwa salama.
Good morning. Niko samba.
Good to see you. Nilikuwa nafikiri kwa Qatar.
Hey, uchumi my friend.
Uchumi amefanya nini?
You know, many years ago before I got married, I used to buy a new TV for every World Cup.
Ala? A new TV for every World Cup. World Cup.
Nilikuwa na increasing inches. Tangu nioe sijaongeza.
Ni nini mbaya? What happened?
Priorities boss. Utaweka TV mpya hapo na mama anaangalia sofa set bado zimechoka nini.
Tarudi upate jioni imeuzwa. Upate kameenda. Upate it has lefted.
Ulikuwa na pesa ya TV wewe.
Upate ime left the group. I hope you had a good weekend.
Those are the good old days.
Look, I hope you had a good weekend.
Good weekend, yes. Quiet, slow.
Yeah. It was slow everywhere.
Tunatafuta chakula ya watoto. You know, kids are coming for holidays and it's going to be very long.
For a whole 2 months,
man.
Hey, kwani these guys want to kill us or what?
No. See, they are now resetting the calendar. The next year, irudi normal.
Irudi form.
So until one good thing, ama tuombe kwanza.
Tuombe.
Ndio tuombe. Acha tuombe. Father God, thank you for this morning. Even bless us as we begin this broadcast, and also thank you for our listeners. Bless each and every one of them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Haya, asante. Nimeona kuna ngoma ameingia as usual. Please, when you join, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join in, please when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Naona nani ameweza kuamka mapema. Elsie kama kawaida. Elsie Cherop ameamka ngware kabisa. Asante sana Elsie. Morning Gerald kiongozi pamoja kiongozi. Asante sana kwa Pass Empire. Asante sana. Ameamka. Keep up the good work. Asante. Watching live from Loita, Narok County. Asante sana watu wa Loita, Narok County. Gidogil masema Dana. Asante sana. Jelton Togumo. Good to see you my brother. Good job brother. Good to see you. Umepotea sana ndugu yangu. Tuko na ngoja ulete this guy was to bring that Providence judge. This guy from
what's to bring?
This guy who usually does a very beautiful series on judgments. A judge, I think. He's got made in Providence, something Providence.
Oh, that guy. Yeah,
everyone comes there.
I know him. It's called Jaju. We are America.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Kuna jamaa alikuwa aleta hapa sijui alimfikisha alikuja kamwacha wapi. Leonard Serem, good to see you. Umetutuma sana Leonard Serem. You've been away for a long time. Morning, brother. Good morning to you, Leonard Serem. And I'll be doing well. Salimia watu wa Australia. You guys are keeping right there. Keep talking. Victor, morning. Look kama kawaida. Asante sana watu wameanza kuamka mapema. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you. In other news, watu wamepigwa nyumbani. Niliona kuna mtu anasema ati
for a minute I was wondering who are you talking about. But I see what you're talking about.
Have you seen?
Ati watu
wanajima watu sherehe sasa. Things are fighting back.
Do you know if I was a betting guy, I would have put money on Qatar. I was so sure.
Even me,
they put a good show. Plus kulikuwa na rumors more, but wamepeana kakitu. Awase wengine waanguke ovyo. Especially when the first goal was denied. Alijua. Nijua basha imetembea.
Nikaona akasema ati FIFA, is it FIFA or FIFA is rigging.
As it turns out, oh my goodness.
But how can you be beaten at home? I heard some guys on a light note, some guys were saying that Qatar ni kama Azimia secretariat. But anyway, I'm not a very good fan of football.
They did a lot of planning for the event, and no focus on the team.
They never planned for the team.
But I understand the team has been playing together since June.
Okay.
Your team.
So what happened?
Wamekuwa kigomoga teams around them. Unajua when you're ukiingaria your neighbors there.
Nafikiria ni Otero.
Unaona uko set.
I'm not a football. I'm not really a
And they are the Asian champions. Can you imagine?
Asian champions.
Right now.
All right. I'm not a very good fan of football. But I think you are, since you said you keep
I follow the World Cup.
You watch the World Cup, right?
That one I follow.
All right.
Keenly.
So what is your analysis of yesterday's events?
It's still too early to say anything, That's one match. I think the problem with this particular World Cup is that there was a lot of focus on the country and not so much on the teams. So a lot of us are getting now acquainted with the teams now. There's too much focus on Qatar and its human rights record and migrant workers and the LGBTQ stories that we lost. It's difficult for any football fan to really pinpoint and say this team is good. There wasn't so much focus on the teams. We are now beginning to find out who the teams are. Okay. So these group matches will tell us everything we need to know. For the first time, we have to watch them so that we know how strong is.
But you're losing on the first day at home.
Okay, I think we also expected too much from Qatar to win, going by how they played. It's not like they were a big footballing nation. They just wanted to host
the football.
The World Cup. Tumewapatia pressure mingi sana, expecting them to. Although on paper, Ecuador, imagine a number 44 in the world, and Qatar a number 50. So they were supposed to be a good matchup for each other. But the Qataris ni kama walikuwa na lethargy ya kwenda kwa ile goal post ingine. But they went like 2 times.
But also as men, I think we should be the last people to judge Qatar on their first match.
No, we can't judge them. But if Michael Olunga is their
as men, as men,
what do you think? Mechi ya pili ndio inaeleweka. Who knows? They might surprise us and beat a big boy.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we should be the last as men. We should be the last people to judge Qatar.
You know who else they must face? They must face now what's it called? Netherlands, Senegal. I think they're in the same group.
But then that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
that's going to be a tough one. Naona hii au jamani kama anaweza fika mahali jam na waseme sasa kila mtu aende kwao. Because now they're no longer playing. And
kwanza wacha nikwambie the stories of Qatar are not even on the pitch, they're off the pitch. Focus is on whether people can drink or not.
Hapo ndio kuna shida.
Because
you see, football is an English game, and English people love beer. They love their beer. They love their drink. So could that have been one of the reasons why Qatar lost? Because they denied people come years.
Football and beer.
Could that have been?
Anyway, it's good. In a way, it's good. In a way, it's bad. Because there's that kuna kale kabaz kana kwa stadium that's created by mostly people who have had something. Now we have a lot of sober people there under pressure. Ile pressure watasikia kwanza za penalties.
Baya bana. Because imagine kwanza mnapigwa na uko sober.
Itakuwa kali.
But I saw they're innovating. Chupa ya Coca-Cola, chupa ya Heineken inavalishwa cover ya Coca-Cola.
Hiyo vitu imeshikwa hiyo vitu. Those Qataris are not such. But anyway, people are people, and when it comes to drinks,
lakini kama hawajaionja pombe watajuaje ni gani ni pombe?
No, wanaonja ni kujidai tu. Unajua many of those it's interesting you find that some of those Arab nations have got places where they really indulge, like Dubai. Ukienda Dubai utapata madisco sana huko na maba, and the Arabs are there. It's like preach water, drink wine. Like,
so what is it with the hypocrisy then?
Like what happens in our churches. So it's just ni watu tu bila wanakuanga. They're just hypocrites. They finger the masses, they tell you don't do. But then they go and do.
Okay.
So
at least kuna mtu mmoja hapa anatoka Qatar anasema watching live from Qatar. Ana Evans kabla wakati mmoja tu. Evans, salimia watu wa Qatar. I don't know what's going on right there. Where you guys are. But anyway, that is it this morning. There's something you were saying before we broke for prayers.
Yeah, I was saying about kids, and saying that that for the first time since we have children, and it's going to be
a long time at all.
I think for the first time we will enjoy a new year as parents.
Okay.
usually New Year, unasema Happy New Year 31st, na on 2nd, unatafuta uniform. There's a lot of pressure. And chances are most companies will not pay you on the 2nd of January. Watakulipa tarehe 10 huko. So it was a lot of pressure for parents. Maybe going by the way this one is going to go, I think the pressure will be a bit lighter, because by the time kids are really going to school proper, itakuwa February, because 23rd, 1 week, you can negotiate with the school, ulipe February. And you can survive.
But now there's a bigger problem that I see myself, and it's about the confusion in the education system that is still have. Or more than 2 years post CBC, we're still seeing a lot of confusion. There's still a confusion of should we or should we not. I mean, and children are running through the system. We are actually turning our children into, how would I even put it, guinea fowls. You're using them to test this thing. So if tomorrow we say we are not doing it, what happens to the children who have gone through the system halfway? And even as they break off for the holidays, the conversation is still on whether we should or we should not. The merits and demerits of CBC. What do you have to say about this confusion within the ministry and the government in general?
Well, the ministry said they were doing what's it called?
Public participation.
A public participation, yes. And, I think the ministry themselves and the new minister must quickly come to grips with what they really want. Because if I remember correctly, for some time, the Kenya Kwanza government said that they would scrap the CBC.
During campaigns, yes.
Yes, during campaigns. After a while, it became, we will look at what's working, what's not. And I remember the outgoing minister then said CBC is here to stay.
Yes.
Magoha. And I think if you talk to many parents and teachers, there's a half and half story going on. The system itself may not be so bad, but there's a problem with the implementation, the fact that there are so many kids still in classrooms, and especially for public schools, and people are expecting that this CBC will be implemented in certain ways. It's supposed to be more centered on the child learning, and yet you find schools with 70, 80 children in a classroom, 90 even. So the difficulties in the implementation start from the ministry itself, and whether they are able to provide the spaces required for the children to learn. Although the system, to be honest, I think it's not very bad, because this is a system that's adopted worldwide. Most of the problems we have with 844 are that we learn everything, but we are really masters of nothing. If you think about it, sometimes I joke with my kids, I say, we learn so many things in maths, for example. Maths, kuna matrices. Have you ever applied matrices in your life?
Kwanza kuna ingine ilikuwa inaitwa
hata afadhali longitude na longitude, siku hizi kuna Google Map,
kuna Pythagoras theorem.
There's a lot of things we learn, okay, that's just there for us to pass exams. Hata hii inaitwanga nini, hii kitabu tulikuwa tunasoma in high school, ilikuwa na mapai na macosine.
Mazalani tumesoma vitu mingi. I think these guys wanted to kill us.
Algorithms na manini.
Algorithms.
My friends. Unless you want to be a maths major. Some things, so unajua kuhesabu pesa. Si uko sawa.
But then why was mathematics compulsory?
And I'm not ravishing. I don't think
that almost killed me. So
that thing almost killed me too, bwana. So definitely the system has to be looked at, and I think parents should be able. Although the other thing with parents is some parents are complaining that they are doing too much homework, which I think is also not a good thing, because there's too much expectations from parents for teachers will take care of everything. And that should not be the case. Parents should be involved for sure at some level or degree. The only thing we need to remove is the craziness of mtoto anatumwa nyumbani anakuja kukuitisha mbegu ya avocado. Na huko Nairobi concrete jungle. Na wanataka kesho. The very strange things happen in this CBC. Kids will come and ask you very, very strange things. And those are the things we need to relook at. But in the public participation, the minister needs to be clear on what his agenda is. Kuna ile public participation, but you also must show guidance.
What exactly?
And your vision. The guy has not told us what his vision is. What is his vision?
Also talking about kids, there's something, I was scanning the internet, and there's something I found out last week, very strange. I've noticed several cases of children committing suicide. Children! Not even teenagers, not even children. A child of grade 5 hanged himself in a bathroom. And those are small cases that have been reading, teenagers and children at the age. Even as we look at the bigger picture, also a lot of people are actually opting for getting depressed and getting into suicide. Grown-ups, hiyo tutasema yenyewe uko na mashida, labda stress ni mingi, tunapitia huku nje. Lakini sasa watoto, what do you think is
I know somebody who lost her class 7 students some years ago. Not so many now, like 2 or 3, to suicide.
It's hard.
It's very distressing when you see a 12-year-old opting to take their own life. You wonder what went on through their minds. I mean, sometimes we ask ourselves what problems does a 12-year-old have to... But clearly, there are some issues that they have.
What do you think is going on?
I don't know. The world is just changing, but I think it opens us up to the reality of the fact that we need to begin to have discussions even with children earlier than we would have imagined about what's going on in their lives and how they are taking certain different things. And of course, what pressures they are facing, because a lot of the pressures children are facing are to do with exams, to do with provision, to do with whether they are getting, whether they feel like they are taken care of, in a family setup, whether they are feeling like something is unfair towards them, Just those would be the biggest issues, because their issues are not relationships. No one has broken their heart per se in terms of, what we know as relationship between boys and girls. Their biggest relationships are parents and children and immediate surroundings and what happens around them. So it's something we need to be alive to. A lot of us say we will talk to our kids when they become teenagers. Some of us at hatuwezi ongelea. Kuna watu hapa wanasikiza, they'll never talk to a child about anything until they're 18. Then there are some who say now, the world has changed. 14, 15, tutasema kitu. But I think now you just have to start talking. Even from the moment the child can speak for themselves, you have to start knowing what is going on with the child, taking a keen interest, having a conversation, so that you can catch these things early and be able to debunk them. Otherwise, we'll have a lot more of these stories going on.
So the 2 cases that I've heard about, the first one was, it's interesting, it's surrounding showers, both of them. The first one, the kid was told not to use the gas cooker to warm bathing water. First one. Kautoka nje, kaenda kapata miti. Wa pili, alilazimishwa pia ndaoge. Akaenda bathroom, kajinyonga juu. Unashanga mtoto atoki, there's no activity. You're going to find the kid is going on it. How you also... because hiyo ni vitu hata
do you really think those things
tungebishana mazazi wewe
do you really think those things happen like that?
I don't know, that's what I
like seriously
I don't know.
You think it's just an issue of zima gas alafu the kid just goes and
I don't know, but that's what I'm asking.
There's an underlying problem. It just can't be that.
But also
it's the same way we say with relationships, by the time, and I don't advocate for wife beating or that kind of, by the time people are getting into a physical fight, look at the background.
There's a build up.
Something has happened. Something has happened that has led us there. And granted, we are supposed to be better we're better to be more responsible about our own emotions and things, but something has happened. So even this child, it's a setup, it's what's been happening in the background, it's everything. It can't just be. Because a lot of things happen to us. Aba mnasema watoto wamekuwa masofti. Nyoroshwa bwana.
Ndio nauliza,
are we bana for everything?
Like I'm asking, are we getting more entitled children? Our kids now more entitled? Ama ni nini? Sielewi. Yaani vitu unasikia kaza zingine unashindwa. Hii ni nini?
But kids are only as good as how they are brought up. Even parents, tukisema kids are entitled, who's giving the entitlement? Ni wazazi. Have you seen how some kids behave when you walk around in a supermarket? Mtoto tu akithrow tantrum.
Anasema anataka Kinder Joy na awache.
Alafu nilikuwa kwa supermarket siku nyingine, mtoto anarusha tantrum, anabeba toys, sijui nini, and the mother is there negotiating. Ati hapana, no boy, no siguze hiyo. It will never happen in my home. Sometimes hata tulikuanga ukiwa church pengine Sunday school. Si uko kwa story na mabese zako nini. Alafu unapenduka tu hivi and then your eyes connect with your mother. I think those were the first cases of Bluetooth.
Devices connected as
message. Ukimwangalia device unasikia tu
hapa uende kwa wenyewe alafu ukubali kula chakula. Urudishwa maji hivi unasema
unapewa Bluetooth connection. Wageni wakienda my friend.
Utajua ujui.
You behave, you shape up quickly. Now
I was reading another story. They are saying alienda kwa mtu then the kid comes with a knife. Anataka kudunga jamaa ambaye anambia usimkataza atalia.
So even parents, by the way, need to go back to the parenting we have nowadays, because a lot of parents are saying they're trying to, and I understand some parents are trying to rectify maybe what went wrong.
Okay.
Maybe tulishapwa sana and we didn't like it, or maybe we were told a lot of no's. So we overcompensate by giving too much to the children, to the point that we make them, this rogue little people who must get their way.
Little crooks.
When they don't get their way,
it's a problem.
they then resort to, other forms of things to punish us. Because, from a child's perspective, I would imagine that a child committing suicide is doing it to punish the parents. And I'm not a psychologist, but I can just imagine that it's not so much for him and where he's going. It's how we do this. An adult may contemplate nenda wapi nini. But
Mbinguni jehanamu. Lakini mtoi hataji.
Mtoi just wants to punish you for something you did, which they don't realize the punishment is final. They can't come back from that one. So it must be distressing for a parent. I can only imagine. I would never even, I can't even think of that ever happening to me, Aki. That would be a terrible, terrible thing.
No, the problem is even making peace with that. Because you'll always find a way to blame yourself.
You always find
as
a
a
way.
parent.
You can go mad. Esi poa.
Haya, basi Njuguna anaona korada hapa amesema lock table. Hiyo kitu tulikuwa nasoma ndio ilikuwa inaitwa lock table. Ezra MK, good morning. Ezra MK.
Nani amesema lock table?
Basi Njuguna.
Yeah, good job.
Korada is paying attention. We have very good students here. Ezra MK, good morning. Say hi to Sir LEVI KONES. Good morning to you, Ezra. There's another young boy as always doing well. Kijana ameandika kitabu kabisa. Michael Dekata watching live from Qatar. Hi, good morning. How are you? Poleni watu wa Qatar. Au mkunyorosha usiku. Basi Njuguna, they are doing it because news are all about adults committing suicides. So they understand this is a way of solving a problem. Could that be?
It could be. With the advent of technology, one of the most negative things about technology is the fact that, everything is magnified quickly and is reachable to everyone. So those days when we were growing up, suicide was so unheard of. It would take you quite a while to hear somebody has committed suicide. And I know that people are committing suicide still. But now, because I guess of technology, it's much faster. And we pay a lot more attention to it. And as a result, yes, it's offered as a solution to problems. Suicide rate has always just been going up. Yeah, and especially in males, more than females.
Yeah, wanaume
by far, 2 to 1, in fact. So it's always been going up, and yes, it's being offered.
Have you ever considered suicide in your life?
Personally,
have you ever
yes.
attempted?
Attempted? Well, yes. I was thinking of, I didn't get to the point where I actually did it, but just before I did it, something happened to change my mind. But considered, yes, absolutely. Nilikuwa nimechoka na maisha. And I think, at that time, what I was trying to do was I was trying to get drunk enough to actually do it. Why? Because I was afraid. I needed to be psyched. I find that people who commit suicide are very bold guys. I don't think I can ever do that on a sober mind. Lazima nitakuwa nimevuta bangi ya kutosha. And I'm not advocating for bangi smoking, but I'm just saying that, to get you over that edge. But, the thing that stopped me, I think, was a healthy fear of the devil and flames. My parents
Naogopa moto.
naogopa moto. Boss, who doesn't want to go to heaven? Sasa hata si tunaongea kuhusu mbinguni kwa hii the new dispensation.
And I think also how we lightly take these issues is that we actually think people commit suicide are cowards. Now we'll be like, oh, that guy is a coward. He didn't want to face life. But I think one of the most boldest people
I think they're very bold. Because the guys who drown or younger themselves, very painful ways to go. I had an uncle who drank Triatics. Unajua Triatics?
Wanaitanga tip. Alikunywa tip.
Alikunywa. Na unajua Triatics is not instant, eh? That guy suffered, bwana. 2 or 3 hours. Alitapika, alipenduka, and he drank 5 liters.
5 liters?
Yeah.
Alikuwa
determined. Alikuwa determined anaenda. But by the time he was going, I think even going was now a relief. He really suffered. In those days, by the way, there was a time, I think in the 90s and the 80s, triatics was a go-to option for many people.
Yeah. I mean, it was a known poison to die.
It was a known poison. Squeezy, naona watu
progress.
I don't want to call it that. Aki, this is so morbid.
Anyway, whatever you're going through, whatever anyone is, we could be speaking this morning, and there's someone actually who is considering suicide. Yeah. And I think whatever anyone is going through, suicide is not a solution. It's never been. It can never be. One thing is, while you live, once you leave, where do you go? The people you've left behind are the ones who suffer on your behalf. So you're not fixing anything. You're only making your problems, protracting your problems, and making them deeper.
And there's nothing that cannot turn around.
Yeah. Can you imagine that it doesn't live?
There's nothing, by the way, that
can turn around. Imagine.
Imagine.
There's no useless experience.
Imagine if you are poor, you're poor. You can't get more poorer.
Yeah.
You can only get
better.
Aki, there's nothing that you're going through that is so difficult, that is so unreversible. As long as you are, me I always say, as long as you can feel in your chest, your heart is still beating.
You still have some business left.
It's not over.
And sometimes even rock bottom is the best, because now there's only one thing that can happen. You can only climb up.
You can only climb up.
So at your lowest moments, those are some of the moments that you should draw inspiration from. Well, how is it? I hope you get better. If you're going through something, don't consider dying. Watch happen. And one thing about life is people move on so fast. Bajamaa watakuja hapa wapige sherehe, wakuzike, then they go. But I think we need to have a serious conversation around mental health, especially around men, among men. In other news, last week was, this week that ended was Men's International Day and also Toilet Day. It was a combination of the toilet and the men's day. What the coincidence of combining Toilet Day and Men's Day?
Who names this day?
In the spirits of men only.
Who decided? You know, I never noticed it was Men's Day. I think it was later on.
Mama did not wish you something.
No, I don't even think she noticed either. Men what tunapata nini?
Jaribu kwanza kukosa kusema Happy Mother's Day or Happy Women's Day.
Do you know, let me tell you something interesting for men. For men, the greatest, what's it called? The way you are appreciated is that people are still around. When you go home, na uingie kwa nyumba watu bado wako. That's your appreciation. If you're expecting to be clapped for or to be told sijui at your nini, hakuna hizo vitu. Because men are expected. What you're doing is what is quote unquote expected of you. That you'll provide, you'll be present, you'll be a good leader, you'll be a good husband, utakuwa mkora na utakuwa jambazi. So, have you ever clapped for a matatu driver for driving you from point A to point B? Those are men now.
Wanaume na kazi yenu. Just find out to survive.
On the contrary, ukideviate, utamulikwa.
Utajua ujue.
Watasema, bure, he's not even a man. So there's the problem with men who are imagining that they must get some accolades. So unangoja, unafanya kitu, unasema, lakini sijaambiwa mazee.
Unakuwa disappointed.
Unakuwa alafu ukipata ka ndogo uko nje akwambie tu one good thing, unaanguka because you're saying
kujazoea mama.
Haisemi kwa nyumba. But pia huyo ako na agenda. So anasema ndio ako divert.
Lakini sasa when we don't deserve it.
I think we should tell each. That is why men must pull together. We are the only ones who can tell each other that, you know. Naona una raise family soon.
I wake up in the morning kwambia Happy Men's International Day LEVI. Kama kwambia mwanaume good night.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying ati ukwe soft evil, but I'm saying in our caucuses we can give each other a thumbs up. Wacha mambo ati good night sijui nini. You know, it takes another dude. Haven't you noticed that most men who are so disorganized and so affected by what's happening in life usually have how do you call it? A missing father figure who never encouraged them. It's not because that they are fishy, or it's good for older men especially to give some word of input to younger ones. It goes a long way. Because I don't get it. It takes another guy just saying, you know, hata kikwambia na crude man akwambia tu mazebo strong.
Kara.
Imetosha. Don't have to get hugs.
But then again, why is it that we are normalizing not expecting anything from the women in our lives? Because there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance.
But there are roles. You see, that's balance and roles is where the thing comes in, honestly speaking. There are women, of course, who are always praising their men. But then you realize there's also too much praise also turns men into complete sissies. Haven't you seen them dudes who are what we call cuckolded? Eh?
So tukubali tu matokeo hivyo.
Inaenda. Do you think those men of zamani when they went hunting alafu wanarudi na kambuzi hapo ameangusha hapo toa nini sasa alikuwa the women gathered around to
haikuwa mbuzi bana. They say an hunter who goes to hunt and comes back with a goat is a thief. You're not going to hunt a goat. Gazelle. Or an antelope or something. No, nyumbani na mbuzi. Ukuja ni mwizi. Ukuja na kitu kubwa. That's a thief. But I think, I don't know, but I think there needs to be a balance of, and you know, and the problem with this thing is, I mean, we are normalizing the reason why you've been talking about and Kelman and sexuality is something that we need to have a discussion with an expert on mental health. But I think the reason why men are suffering is because we imagine that men, yani roho ya mwanaume ni generator. Yani haina feelings, haina anything, doesn't deserve appreciation, accolades, nothing. Like you're just supposed to exist. Yani you're not even supposed to feel sad. Nani place hata unataka kufika mahali yani uambie mtu maze, hey, ndio imenelemea. Like this day has not been good. Or things that happen. Yani you don't expect that. So men die with things. Men don't get appreciated. Men, someone even decides to put their day with the toilet. So we are not refusing. It's fine. The toilet's a good place. But now we are normalizing not getting emotional, or even put it, from the people in our lives. Shall women? The women in our lives, of course. Why are we normalizing that we cannot be emotional, that we are not emotional beings? We are emotional beings.
How much emotion should we have?
When you are appreciated for something you've done, human, and when I come here and appreciate you, how do you feel? What's it? Do you get a difference in emotion?
Of course, everyone. There's no one who doesn't like to be told that this you've done something good. But I say, however, there's a...
we should not expect.
There's an over-expectation from dudes of nowadays. And I think that's where the problem... You're saying this men are here having... We say men are having issues because we're having a lot of issues because men are no longer men. And not men by meaning that men must be hardcore always and always unemotionless and not able to appreciate, gratitude or even give gratitude or even say good things. But on the other hand, we have also sissied men so much. One of our biggest problems, by the way, in this particular century, going forward, is just the amount of nonsense men are taking in. Let me just give you case in point. Do you know how many 40-year-olds, 35-year-olds are at home with their mothers?
40 is actually, not even 35.
Do you know how many, bro? Even this morning, I was talking to a mother about her 40-year-old son. Just at her wit's end. Kunywa pombe, na demand pesa, nataka kwenda kwa dentist atoe meno na anasema apewe pesa na mama. Mtu ako 40.
Si atoe meno nyumbani.
40. What do you think is the issue with that? We've also overbabied dudes so much. And as I say, it's men who have actually had the problem because a lot of the men, they used to be, back in the day, age sets, age groups. So I go back to the whole setting, even traditionally. Older men would teach younger men. Hata Biblia inasema. Ndio. They say older women teach younger women, older men teach younger men. That somewhere got lost. People started living their own lives, not being able to reach out to one another. And as the world got more progressively modern, it was everyone for himself. In my days, a parent, I remember one time nilikuanga Sacho, tukaenda shule. Tukiwa Kabanet town, on our way to school, tukaingia kwa izima, this movie halls, the 20 bob. Tumewatch movies za kung fu hapo nini, and suddenly, the lights came on. Who had come? A gentleman called Kanda. Kanda was the headmaster of Cabinet Boys. A real tough guy. He was looking for his boys who are in the movie hall with us. Akatafuta boys wake akawapata, akawanyorosha wakitoka. When he was done with them, he turned around. Iko wengine wa shule hapa, kujeni one by one. Anakunyorosha, unatoka wapi Sacho? Anapigia, anachukua namba yako na admission number. When you get to school, report ishafika. There was a community responsibility that was lost with this whole modern era. And that has lost a lot of our guys. Because even now, you in your neighborhood cannot tell your neighbor's child.
Mzazi atakuwa bwana. Uguza Jaden.
Si utaona fire.
Uguza kababa.
And that's where I think we lost everything. Because now, as a result, we have an upsurge of single mothers because of men. Definitely, so many men have, implemented.
Not leveling up.
So many women are raising sons, boys. And they can only raise them to some extent as women. And when they need men, the men are not there.
Oh, they're also struggling with being men.
They have only known the love and care of a mother. What's going to happen?
Okay.
They will miss there's an ingredient they miss of some toughness there that's necessary. That's why we are folding at very little things. We are just folding up. You find jamaa ameambiwa tu ati grade yako, you'll have to do a supplementary. Ameenda kajinyonga. Juzi, my daughter did an exam. Hapa tu in college. She did an exam. The exam was marked. Supposedly the lecturer lost the results. So she was told, along with some others,
to reset.
She called me in tears. But I encouraged her. I told her, just receive the exam. It's part of the journey of life. Don't worry. These are troubles that you're undergoing. Even us at work, sometimes we are told something by the boss, do this, fanya hii tena, blah, 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 blah. It's okay. You take it well. She told me I reset the exams and passed even higher than she had got even the first marks. Tell that to a young man today. Receipt an exam. Utampata kwa bafu. Dangling.
Sad. All right. I think there's also a conversation that was going on last week. This might not be the best time to discuss it. But I think there's also a conference that was going on. It was running on the internet last week. And it is about what you just started off with. It's about the LGBTQ and the trend in which men are catching up with it. And men are trying more to be women than being men. I think it's a discussion we need to have very soon on men only. I think that's what we need to go to. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand it more. I will need to get someone to explain the science behind that.
Do you know, by the way, it has taken center stage for World Cup history LGBTQ? You know, their teams were saying, umesikia siasa ya World Cup, kuna hiyo story. Because Qatar is very pro-Muslim. And their laws don't allow for, gayism and, and all that. So they had these guys who were wearing these armbands. Belgium have said whatever, Denmark whatever, England wamesema whatever armband iko na rainbow colors, nasema one love, promoting LGBTQ. FIFA have tried to get them, telling football is not about politics, blah, 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 but they're saying it's about unity, about love, about what. When we talk about the LGBTQ community, one of the first things you will realize, even in media, even media is shying away from bashing them, because if you bash,
there are consequences.
There are consequences. Big time. Case and points. People are listening to me. Go and Google Shabaranks. Shabaranks. Mr. Lova.
Yeah, Mr. Lova.
Do you know why that guy fell from grace?
What happened?
Because he went on a radio show like this one, and he said some disparaging remarks about the gay community. Walibumalisa. Waliangusha paka mawimbo mpaka nini. In fact, the world today is so pro-gay that for you to survive, you find even African leaders will not just say, this is not what we believe in, unlike the Arabs, because the Arabs have got money, so they don't have anything being held against them. In Africa, sisi IMF, lazima tutaenda tugonge huko mlango, we must go and beg for a few things. So they've got something holding over us. So when they ask us a question about the gay question, we must be able to reply with
diplomatically.
Naanza kusema. Yet we even ask ourselves, but what is the issue with the gay community? I mean, if you're a guy who is listening and you like guys, si ufanya kwa bedroom yako, who has stopped you? Do your things. This whole idea of now we must come out and make noise and then engage and be able to recruit members is where I personally draw the line. I say, well, I'm not recruiting anyone into my own bedroom. Why are you recruiting somebody?
We are not talking about ours.
You go do you. You will meet with God and you'll have that discussion yourselves.
So,
But even you see even this statement right here, even right now, hata mimi
itachemsha
naweza kosa visa yangu.
America win.
Uzuri America walishanikataa. So
you have nothing to lose. You are another Arabian. You can't lose that visa twice. But now the thing is, I mean, so what is informing the trend, the new trend? Because we are normalizing it more. More people are coming out to claim that space, and it's becoming more like people catching up with it. Like you see, the fear of missing out, FOMO. It seems to be like some level of FOMO. Teenagers are finding it fun to be part of the community, you know, and it's beginning to feel like one of those ways to be. What is informing the trend? Is it medical?
Let me tell
is it up on this day level?
Let me tell you, in my church, I work with teenagers.
Okay.
I've immersed myself in the teenage ministry, and I try to give some inputs there, especially from this year. Ever since I wrote the book, book kweli imefungua some to those doors. I wasn't very active before that. But we had a discussion. We had a discussion with the teenagers recently about the LGBTQ question. Boss, that was the question that was most discussed. Most discussed. Okay. They are so curious, and I'm talking about 14, 15-year-olds. They are so curious about it. And even when we ask them how many sexes are there, if I ask you, how many sexes are there?
2.
Do you know how many they told us? CG 5. They named transgender.
Okay.
They had more than 2. Until these guys have managed to ingrain themselves so deep that they are even, and parents are thinking that it's like a joke. If there's a time to be like, now I'm about to take another Form 1, my class 8 is about to go to Form 1. Again, I'm not looking forward to being a high school parent, by the way, because I really fear high schools. Usually to be you're sending your boys to a boys' school and all is well. Atakutana na wasichana holidays. Sahi hata your boys' school is a panic. If your child is 16, 17, and you find that they're interested in a boy or a girl, you need to clap. They're normal. They're normal at least. And that's the first thing. Before you guide them on...
at least kwanza sema.
At least
first box checked.
Check. We are reaching that point, by the way, because the boarding schools, after being a panic, I'm about to send my girl to a girls' school. I'm already worried. I'm already looking. I'm not just looking at academics. I'm now looking at the moral compass of the school. It's more important than whether the school is number 1 or 2. Because what's the point? You have to take a child to a top tier school, and they come out, and their values are not aligned with the home values that you have. I mean, this story is more real than we can imagine. And I'm telling you, in a few years or so, it's going to be front, head, and center in our newspapers. People will be saying, we also want a member of parliament who is advocating for this as a disability. A nomination. I'm telling you, we are headed there rapidly.
Inclusion.
Inclusion, yes. And with inclusion, and you can see it's even in our cartoons. Every movie from Hollywood has a gay character. It's almost like a standard now, there's no funding for it to become a movie. Every series you're watching has got a gay character. Even the ones that are medieval. Vitu kama Game of Thrones. Series are 17 to 50. Wameingiza maneno hapo ndani. Every cartoon that you can think of that is top level has got a gay character. So the idea is to normalize it so that it's not a questionable thing, so that, it just becomes okay. But in that, as Africans, as we have tried to, hold on to our values and to be able to talk about what we think is good and right, and many of us who call ourselves Christians, one of our biggest problems is we have not been able to sit down and address the elephant in the room. We are pretending it's not there and hoping it will end, and president after president is still calling it a non-issue. It is not.
Now, let me also ask, it's all fun and games. It's just a conversation where you can also give your opinion until it gets home. Do you have discussions like this with your children?
Yeah. All the time. When we are driving, when we are talking, I try not to make it a tumeka, tunaongea sasa kuhusu. No. Even when we are driving around, when we are walking around, I throw it in. I get their feedback. What do you think about that? What do you think about this? Yesterday, I was watching the opening thing for Qatar with my daughter. And there's this guy who came out. He's called Jungkook. He's a Korean. Is he Korean? I think he's a Korean.
Sounds Korean.
South Korean singer.
Cook.
He was the first Asian guy to be recorded hapo kwa stage. My daughter was like, Jungkook. Misi kumwana mjua. I was like, hey, you really know that thing? Yeah. I mean, must be dreams. Nika Google jamaa bana. Nikaona, hey, the guy is actually well known. This one that my daughter is screaming about here. I better get interested in knowing who the fellow is. It's time for parents to be interested. Don't just throw a laptop at your child alafu you're disinterested in what they're doing. With it, kids are uko neighbor kwa YouTube. Doesn't it surprise you? You know, one of the biggest songs sung by children is this one. Kuna hii wimbo inaimbwanga.
Gani?
It's called Old Town Road.
Old
Town Road.
Okay.
Watoto wanaimba word for word. But Dudu's very gay.
Wow.
Very. Video hata ukiangalia video zingine ametengeneza pale kweli. But it's time for parents to be more interested also in what the children
are interested in.
And have this conversation. You can't pretend that wewe ni Mkristo sana huwezi ongea. Una focus na kwenda mbinguni peke yako unaacha mtoto.
So let me ask you, Levi, if tomorrow your daughter...
Don't ask that question. I know what question you want to ask.
I have to ask.
Stuck.
No, lazima ujibu. If your daughter shows up, if daughter, haiguzangi mwanaume sana, tuende kwa boy, your son, comes on one holiday, so anafunga kesho.
And then says...
Afiki aseme, I love boys. Yeah. I'm a boys person. Utandu.
Hauna commercial kwa hii nini yako?
It is wala nyeti.
You know, it's all fun and games until it comes home.
And that's what I'm saying. Because we can discuss it, we can, you can be tough about it and say, this thing is, until it's your...
I don't know, bro.
It's your child facing you and telling you.
I think I'll question myself so much on whether I was able to... I'd question myself so much on whether I was able to raise them. And I really hope that would not be the case. Personally, I really hope.
Have you ever thought about the possibility of that?
Yes and no. Yes, but to the point where I dismiss it and tell myself, but I'm trying my best. Let me try and, talk. And then the other thing I try to do is, okay, we cannot influence children's choices per se, but we can influence their surroundings.
Okay.
For example, where we take them to school, where we take them to churches, which neighborhood we decide to live in. It influences how our children think. Which friends we keep around us who visit our homes and whose homes we visit. We can influence those circles. And maybe in our influencing those circles around our children, we can then influence our children. And then create a culture, So that's what I tell myself I try to do. And then, of course, add my own influence into it in terms of my own perspective and stories and how I deal with their mother and showing them that this is what love
is a normal situation.
And this is a normal situation. This is what is expected. And hopefully you can influence that. But in the event that you are to do all that and you thought what you are doing right.
And that happens.
And then that happens. Then you just take it from there. You'll just have to swallow the bullet and see how you can converse with your child. And if it happens and it happens and it happens, then you must tell yourself that at least you
did your best.
In as far as your values are concerned. It's the same question I think that would be applied. If you did all the good that you did and your child became a mass murderer. You see these shootings happening in American places. You went and shot 22 people. What would you tell yourselves? You're not a murderer. You don't keep a gun. Maybe you've never taken the boy to a shooting range, and then suddenly, boom, ameenda na panga, cut out 15. You can only take solace in the fact that you tried to show the right path, that you did your best as a parent, and you tried to do your best with the hope of good results, but definitely because of the world we live in and because children also have choices that they will make as individuals. They will make their own choices.
So you'll just accept?
But you show them the right path.
You'll accept and move on?
Will you accept? I don't think you really accept. But will you be able to control an individual? A child is not a child. Sometimes my mother especially will refer to my brothers ati tulikuwa tunaongea na
watoto.
Nilikuwa naongea na watoto. Do you know who she's talking about when she's saying that? Like a 39-year-old, a 37-year-old. And I say, Mom, ni mtoto wako.
Si mtoto
but si mtoto. Do you know? Si mtoto. So even your child, there's a point, that's your child. It will always be your child. You're 100 and they're 60, that's your child. However, they're not a child. And they will stand before God on their own accord to make their own, defense for their own life without you present. So the only best you can do is show them the way. But I take solace. The Bible says that, show a child the way he should go. When he's old, he won't depart from it. I take solace in that. Because even me, wakati nilikuwa na ukora na ujambazi mingi, there were times I would hear the voice of my father in my head or my mom. Ile kitu unajua mazee, hii Buddha alisema hii kitu si poa. So I am planning to be the voice in their ear, even when I'm gone. So how do I do that? I'm the voice now. I'm speaking.
Kikiumana unakubali.
Speaking.
Okay. All right. I don't know your people have very different opinions on most matters these days, as much as this. But I don't know what are your thoughts, and do you think the orientations that we are seeing from our young people are a reflection of what we are as parents? Do you think there's ama kuna outbreak ya shit? Unajua kuna global warming. Labda pia kuna
by the way kuna mtu ametulima kuhusu maneno.
Tayari.
I don't know. I'm just wondering because unajua ukiongea maneno saa zingine unalimwa na human rights activists.
Okay.
Utafanya wewe nisiende Europe.
Human right.
Na issue yako hapa.
Enyewe bana alikuwa na mpango hata ya ni henda hata napanda kidogo. So I want to give a disclaimer that anything that he said here, even if I say it, that don't represent my opinion.
Should not affect the visa.
Should not deny me visa. David Kalman, but I think also, do you realize that also we are building, anyway, let me look at the comments that we get back there. Kelvin Kalman, this is called the last straw syndrome, where a lot of underlying issues have been swept under the carpet for so long that a small issue triggers an explosion. So we use that trigger to explain it, to minimize our negligence. Wow. Kelvin, I would like to have a conversation with you on mental health issues, especially and suicide. Vicky, good morning to you. Vitalis are there. Should we then ask government to provide parenting guideline now that wazazi wameshindwa? Sasa Vitalis amesema kama sisi wazazi tumeshindwa tuachie watoto serikali. Serikali ipange tupe guideline.
Serikali iko busy na GMO, acha na serikali.
Kiti Chepkosgei, watching and listening from Canada. Suicide is a mental illness. It's a decision made when someone is pushed to the edge, and this or a mind or thought process cannot process the things rationally. Even a small thing can see them off. There is a country called Guyana where suicide rates is the highest bit. Bottom line, in suicide, ni wendo wazimu. Okay. I actually think you should not all such conversations on suicide without an expert on the panel. All right. On Monday, we'll get someone on the panel. Kabon Sara, hii maisha ni mtu kuwa na lifestyle yake. Don't follow someone's life. You go live. You go on your own life. Okay. Most people anasema most people blame the shetani. Abbas. Okay. Kabon Sara, Gerald, men have your own conference 5 years to come. Hatari, mambo imekuwa noma bwana. 5 years we need to have a sitting. Inasema ya mental illness ni ugonjwa ya shetani. Worst case scenario, hata watoto as young as 5 years and type of suicide. And I'm finishing a novel whose main theme is LGBTQ. Wow. Okay. I'll be interested to know, Kelman, why are you reading it? I'll be interested to know. Maybe it can inform actually the conversation that we are having on why you would pick it and why you read it. All right. I know. I'll be very interested to hear that out. Remember that you can also call in 0779 800 010 or 779 800 010. If you have an opinion that you want to give it to us, you can call in 0779 800 010 or 779 800 010. 779 800 010. Kabon Sara, Kones, don't blame single mothers. Blame men.
No, I didn't.
Blame men here. Compare the children, mothers, and those who have both parents. Do your research. In hatari. We lost our culture, and then we say to go digital. Shame, shame. Even our children going to Sunday school in vocabulary. God, hear our cry. Rosemary Kabugi. Good morning to you, Rosemary. They should do the LGBTQ without shouting about it. Rosemary hata amekasirika. Amesema fanyeni vitu yenu huko na mnyamazie. Hata sisi tuambiange. Joseph Wambugu will never be coerced to support gayism. Okay. Kabon Sara, gayism and lesbianism is chorus in my house. I give the quotes of Bible. Iwa watoto tuambie ukweli. Straight from a parent to give advice to your children and be close watching them and check the friends and environment. Now, I was saying something about the more, we speak about democracy and the space to express ourselves. But I think that space is getting more and more constricted to an extent that we cannot have such a conversation because me naogopa ninyimwe visa, ama naogopa nikuwe reprimanded, and we are getting a more, as we progress, we expect that we'd have a freer space to speak about things and matter and have conversations on things and also strongly speak about our ideals on matters that we think are important to us. Even talking about parenting. You remember kitambo ulikuwa unanyorosha mtoto mpaka unakanyaga shingo. Lakini sasa jaribu. First will be in the door, will be the government, children's rights, human rights and all that. I'm not saying we should go there. But I think we are becoming, even parents, they are becoming more and more less effective in parenting because of the space they're coming in. Regulations and all the other things and the fear of criticism in the area of digital media and social media. You do something today, kesho, you are trending on Twitter, umeenda wapi, even just the treatment that you're making now could cause you trouble. Are we getting to a space where we are getting more and more constricted on matters that you should be speaking about? Atticus now, good morning. We're putting some Atticus now all the way from UK. Good morning, Jiro. Good morning to Shali Kitela. Our upcoming little humans are lacking thick skin and needed to survive and to thrive in this modern life. What number can I call in? Kennedy, number is 0779 800 0010. 779 800 010. You can call in Shali. That is the scariest question to any parent, Aki. Kumutai, and the government won't help us in parenting. Parents should improve their parenting styles. Levi, is it becoming more and more difficult to operate?
Definitely it is. The more they say that the democratic space has opened, actually it's closed. We are in what is called the cancel culture, where you're cancelled literally for anything you say. And that is viewed, and then it also depends on who you are. For example, let me give you a case in point. Donald Trump got away with a lot of things that he said. Even at some point he made fun of some what's he called? Some disabled people. Did you see in the 2016 run up to the election?
Yes.
Yeah. He finally got removed from Twitter, but he's back when
he's
just 2020 or something. Yeah. By contrast, Kanye West said something anti-Semitic. How long did it take? Paka hata kina Adidas wamemtoa nini, he's lost over $1 billion.
Yeah. In revenue.
In revenue, quick. We are in that culture, but that culture also has its owners, the cancel culture. So, depending on who you are and what is said, it can be very heavy on you at certain, times. But it does not mean that that democratic space extends to our houses. We must be able to discuss these things at home. Because somebody said, okay, we can't talk about this without bringing an expert. That's okay, fine. Maybe we need to bring an expert to have a chat. But we are having this discussion in our homes. Yes. Where is the expert there? We can't just block these things, okay? This one is a public forum. I could understand why somebody would want somebody of that nature here. But when you're in your house, it's only you who can be the person who can...
You don't need an expert.
Who can give the guideline on what's happening around the world to your children. And God has put you there for a purpose so that you're able to do that. And I think that in as far as that space is concerned, because we still have our homes, let's use that space until such a time that that space may be taken away, hopefully not in our lifetime. But when we have the space right now,
we use it.
There was a time that there was a certain, young Jogo who was after my daughter. I think I ever told you the story. And this guy was, my daughter was Uko. It's a good thing she didn't listen to this podcast. She would be very embarrassed. Was sneaking out to go and meet the fellow every now and then. And when I found out about it, ikena nikatafuta paka mzazi ya Jogo. Ya Jogo. Gundua Jogo kwanza anasumbua mzazi, alikuwa expelled sijui from high school ako kwa college lakini hata attend classes. The kind of Jogo you do not want.
But he's wanted for your daughter.
But he's the one. Wanasemanga bad boys kweli. He's the one amenyemelea kwangu mbaya sana. Then I sat down and asked myself, sasa, unajua, I asked myself, sasa, this guy is meeting my daughter, mornings, evenings, okay, I'm trying to cut that. Of course, mama yake aliingia, kata communication, kuna kanya simu, nini, all that. What good mothers do, mother hens. But mimi nikaona, this guy is meeting my daughter maybe once a day, maybe once every 2 days. Mimi, I'm seeing her daily. If I do not talk to her about these things, and every time this guy is meeting her, he is telling her very crazy things, by the law of probability, who will win?
They will win.
The guy will win. But what I have as an advantage is presence. I am around where he cannot be.
Okay.
I'm in the house, she's under my roof. For now, for the time being, she's still under my roof. Because of that, by law of probability, I should be able to input a lot more than that fellow.
More influence.
You know.
That's a competition.
No, you have to apply because we are competing daily against forces like that. You send your child to school, they go meet new forces. You send them to Sunday school, they are meeting new forces. They are walking to the shop, they are meeting new forces. All those forces are outside your house. Sometimes those forces are just on the phone. Kwa WhatsApp, kuna forces zingine huko kwa status. Kuna zingine kwa TikTok. Kuna zingine zinachezea kwa Facebook, reels na manini. There are all manner of things going at your children daily. So you have to also be there countering those things on a daily basis. So that is why the opportunities, when they come, the opportunities to have a discussion around the dinner table, over a TV program, whether you are, in a matatu going somewhere, whether you are, sitting at a lunch table somewhere. When the opportunity presents itself, sometimes you even see someone passing by them dressed in a certain way and they look like they could be gay. That's an opportunity. Chat with your son about it. What do you think about that dressing? Let it open the conversation for that discussion to happen. Chat with your son about it.
I think we have someone here. Call. Let's listen to them. Good morning. You can have your headphones on. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Nzuri sana Gerald, how are you?
Salama sana, mambo?
Sasa, I want you to have a program on that. Hii ya leo ni sosa kidogo.
Tumesema tuonje kidogo. Na hii mambo pia ni hatari.
Tunaogopa wacha nikwambie Gerald. Some of the things atuogope hiyo mambo yenye mnatustua ati tutanyimwa visa. Tuache hiyo visa ikae. Kwani iko nini? Acha hiyo visa ikae. Can you compare this and your child?
Yeah, mami.
Yes, that's
what do you think is the problem? Wewe unaona hii shida iko wapi? Unaona hii shida inatokea wapi?
Hii shida, wacha nikwambie. Hii shida ni sisi wazazi.
Okay.
How can a whole mother like me naenda kununulia kijana yangu manguo ya wasichana? Hata tikiti ndio gaya sio hata juzi tuliona ingine hapo ati mimi naitwa somebody from Mokotio Kenya. Baringo yote tuliwaka moto. We have never had such stupid things like those. And I want to applaud nani Kones hapo. Anajua wao Baringo teachers were that time in yetu. Ukipatikana town unawekwa kiboko mpaka shule. Lakini sai hebu kuza mtoto wenyewe. So it is our parents to talk with our children. Like me. Mimi lazima nikae na wangu. Because kama last born yangu za hizi form 4 nisipoongea nikafikia wapi? Lazima tuambiane ukweli, lakini hii mambo tunaogopa sisi alafu za hizi serikali wanakimbia GMO. What is GMO? Watakuja kuangalia GMO ile watu wamepotoka, hakuna kuzaa watoto. Nazari school za iko wapi? Hakuna. Sunday school iko wapi? Hakuna.
Imefungwa, hakuna watoto.
Wewe unieti.
Nikuuliza mami, umesema last born ako form 4.
Yes.
Akikuja kesho kuja holiday, akwambie sasa mami mimi kama ni mjana ama ni kijana?
Ni kijana, na let me tell you, I have 2 boys, 2 girls. I normally put them on the table. Nawaambia ukweli vile iko, kesi la lesbianism iko. And I put the Bible there. Tunachambua hapo, hakuna story ya kwenda kando. Lakini wazazi wengine they don't have time for their children. Akishatoka asubuhi saa 12 mpaka usiku saa 12 ajui watoto walienda namna gani. But the best parent, unakaa ikifika masaa 4 hivi unajifanya kama ulisahau kitu. Rudi mpaka kwa nyumba. Fika pale uone kama hiyo mbuzi yako yote na kondoo yote iko mahali moja ama imesambaratika. You can actually even call the phone. Umwambie, "Ai, uko wazima nilikuwa nataka uniangalie kitu hapa." Na fulani yako wapi? Ujiulize kama hapo alau. Lakini historia yenye mzazi akitoka mpaka jioni, you don't know msichana alienda wapi, ameenda kuenda na boyfriend wapi, vijana mpaka wanajua time yako ya kurudi. So wanasema, "Wewe karibu wazee wafike." So tuache tuharakishe turudi kwa nyumba. Should we have that time as parents? We need to blame ourselves as parents. Sio hao watoto, ni sisi.
So sisi ndio
tulifunza hiyo tabia. Sisi ndio wazazi tuko na shida. Unakuta mzazi hata na nini wanatusiana mbele ya watoto kwa sitting room. Na what is the purpose of the bedroom? Bedroom ilikuwa ni kwenda kwa hiyo nao tawa issues. Lakini unakuta matusi sauti ile inatembea. And I know general, we've been seeing a lot of things ikihappen kwa social media mpaka wazazi ile wanatufiana. There is one which I had some months ago. A mother, Mkamba lady, akitusi mzee yake mbele ya watoto akibrush viatu. Is that the way we need our children to behave? So hii program umeweka leo ni chalo. Nataka next week wachana hizo vitu zingine sijui GMO sijui ya sheria wiki weka kando hiyo. Tuende hii ukinyimwa visa kwani lazima uende ng'ambo.
Hata Baringo. Hata Baringo ni Europe.
Hata Baringo ni Europe tutaenda kuona hiyo maji moto huko. Kwani kwa nini uliza nani Kones amekuwa akisema huko. And I've been following Kones since long time. Akiwa kwa hii program. There's a program mpaka hata akimpea bibi yake ring. I'm forgetting the program. I've followed that gentleman for a long time. Baka mambo ya bombe nini nimekuwa nikifollow Kones. But thank you very much Kones. You are now the speaker of the society. May God bless you.
God bless. So tuache mchezo kama wazazi.
Tuache mchezo ya kuchingana alafu mzazi mnalete bombe mnakuja kukunywa kwa nyumba. What are you showing those kids?
That's very true.
Mimi ningekuwa na kiboko hiyo mimi sibembeleze ni nimo visa, it is not a must. Kwani ni lazima tuende tuingie ng'ambo watoto wetu wataenda. Kimo ndam tuwezibembeleza watu wapeleke culture yao. Look at Uganda hata kama wamepimwa pressure. Gerald, look at Uganda. Kuna gezi huko?
Hakuna. Kama iko labda iko chini ya maji.
Kwani lazima hata tukikula ile chakula yetu matoke na sisi tukula hapa ugali na marabuoni iko shida gani? Kwani lazima tukue huko? Tuko na madeni mpaka hata watoto ile bado wajazaliwa. Ile jadi kule kimagika. Tutaishi aje? Hii serikali hawataki kuongelelea because if they talk watanyimwa hizi vitu zote hizi yenye wanakimbia kila mahali. What such society do we have?
We need to speak about it.
Nadhani Jumapili unaenda kuambia Mungu asante sijui nini na mtoto ndio unaenda na mtoto badala ya kijana avae long anavaa skirt na unaenda na yeye. Akitwende katika wapi hiyo kama mume hata nipate mmoja kwa kanisa nitatandika tufanye kesi.
Na ameweka lipstick.
Simbelezi.
Utamaliza sasa mami. I think she needs to be one of our first guests on the Men on Them.
She does.
A woman needs to speak about the issue.
True.
So madam.
Yes.
Kuna watu wanasema ni kuunganishe nao. There's kitu hizi in Australia anasema ni kuunganishe nao. Sijui kama utaniruhusu alafu nitawapa namba yako. Alafu muongee. Alafu pia tutaka ukuje tuongee. One of these fine days we'll have a program into these issues.
If you call me on that program, I don't fear because I need to speak the truth. Na tuambiana ukweli, mimi siogopi. Unajua tukitoka, if we come out and we speak, hata serikali nayo itajua ala, kumbe hapa kimeumana. Lakini tukinyamaza, bado tunakaliwa tukue chapati mpaka lini? Na watoto wote wanapotea in the name of akinikiongea visa yangu itatoka kesho, sio kasikia ikaa ya visa. Kwani lazima?
Asante.
Lazima uende ng'ambo. Baki hii Kenya, uongeleshe kufungua television kubwa.
Iko nini? Dunia hii. Wasitishe sisi.
Dunia yetu ya proud of it bwana.
Asante sana mom. Thank you so much. So I'll share your number with some of the guys. Asante. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nothing to add.
She's spoken very well. You said, what is her name? Sorry, I missed.
Sarah.
Asante sana, Sarah. Very well spoken.
Nothing to add.
You see, that is the kind of anger most parents have. But the platform is where people have reached a point where, because of this whole thing to what set boundaries,
the passion.
People are afraid of having a discussion. You know, one of the things we have to pick up from this whole thing of this Qatar thing, is that there's a big lesson coming from Qatar. That regardless of world pressure, Qataris are not giving in to what is their not in their culture to do. It's so rare.
Yeah.
You know, some people will say they're missing out on revenue of
but they don't care.
They don't care
about their deals.
They don't care. They're like, this is not in our culture. They said if you go, in fact I heard the Qatari emir saying, ukienda France ama uende America. See, you go and you conform to what is happening there. If they are driving on the right, you drive on the right. If they say it requires this to get a license, that's what you do. If they say you cannot go here and other people can go of certain caliber, see, that's what you'll do. They say so in Qatar also. Pia sisi tuko na sheria zetu. Pia mkifika kwetu, just follow. it's a very rare thing to happen, especially when people are in countries like our own, and especially for us Africans. Our biggest undoing has been that we are so reliant on the West that we have allowed ourselves to be everything the West wants us to be, and we cannot draw the line on what we cannot want to be. Look, Museveni drew the line a long time ago. They've not cancelled the fellow. Yeah, he's just the way he is. With his laws and things. Of course, some people will brand him or on some issues that he may be this way or that way, which is their own Ugandan issues. But as far as morality is concerned, the guy is solid.
Mimi nimesikia mambo ya mama. Yeah, and I think those are conversations that we need to have.
It is.
And I mean, I love the stands in a voice.
I would like us to have it kwanza at night when people are at home. We can have a good discussion, because unajua watu wengi wako job nini. Some guys even say they always leave the office, the work, home listening. Alafu wakifika kwa ofisi inabidi sasa waachilie plus it's a Monday morning. It's I can understand. But we need to have this conversation on
Thursday night, or we do on a weekend?
We should do on a
Sunday.
Thursday, on a Friday, on a Sunday night is very good. There's nothing happening on Sundays mostly. Kwanza wanaume hatuna kitu ya kuwatch. TV imekuwa taken over. Sasa at least kuna World Cup. But let me tell you, Sunday nights are very bad for men. Kuna makwando sesimia huku. Hiva nini huku. Ukiangalia TV, it's taken over.
So we can now give them a chance. We can give men a chance.
Men a chance, yes. To come. In fact, I saw some guys even doing men's forums, and I think I would really welcome the idea of men having more forums. There is not enough men to speak to all the men. It's not enough. We have to do it in our village forums, in our county forums, in our small towns and places, in our churches, in our, and we have to speak about real things. One of the things that concerns me the most, let me tell you, that lady said something there that really touched my heart, which I also resonate with a lot, is how we don't talk about these things very openly. We pretend to be a very closed culture in our conversations, but in our actions, we are a very open culture. Everyone is here doing everything. All these things we see in the West, they're all in Nairobi. Then we pretend we don't want to have a discussion about them. It's one of the most baffling things ever. And when you go to the Christian faith, even worse. Watu wanataka tu waseme tu, nani tuombe tu. Even the Bible says faith without works is dead.
Okay. Haya. Kile Jepkoske hata ngambo sio mzuri. Watoto wanaletwa hapa na wanapata culture shock. Wanakufia kwa streets na madawa kale za kulevya. Kale board powerful message from Mama Watugen. Asante. Kale Mama Konjo, Kenya ni yetu, tutaishi hapa. Hapa. This is where God meant us to be, for us to be. So tutitishwe na visa. Kisaudia YouTube Kimboy, huyo mama wa Baringo amenena kama wazee 24. Okay. Kiti huyu mama wa Baringo nataka kujuana na yeye. Please unganisha sisi. Haya namba ndio nimewekea Mama Sara. Kisaudia YouTube Kimboy, personally ask myself why a man with a hard and rough body go for another hard-bodied person rather than getting a lady who is softer and compliments him. I respect, but I do not support. Okay, the truth. These are women speaking. Nasema hii maneno hawezi. Kawasara has spoken on that. We will never be coerced into supporting gayism. That is Njugu. Shirley Kidera, it is the confidence of mom for me. We need more vocal people on these issues. The modesty ain't helping anymore. Musimamo muhimu. I think we wind up on the conversation on GMOs. Natamama nasema hiyo kitu. Achana nayo kwanza.
On the unaleta siasa ya GMOs sasa. Haki
Amesema tuachane nayo. I think we just close on that. Because I don't know. I think it affects all of us, consumers' consumption of I read somewhere about how they are making chicken in the lab in FDA. Is it FDA labs? And they're saying they take a small tissue from a live chicken, they take it to the lab. Before you know it, you have a chicken. Ukona nyama. Boneless meat.
3 weeks.
2 weeks kuna boneless, kuna chicken. Zima. Boneless meat. But also I think a lot is lost in politics. When such serious conversations happen, the problem is that now we start having it politically. For instance, when you look at Raila Odinga in 2011 as a prime minister, he was pushing for the government to approve GMOs. Today, he's backtracking on it. But in the whole milieu of politics, the person who suffers is the mwananchi, the consumer on the ground. Yeye ndiye anaumia kwa sababu With all the politics, then information is lost. I don't know, what do you think about GMO food?
I think...
because we consume imported food products, canned beef, canned corn, canned beans and all that. So somewhere, one way or the other, we consume food that we don't have control over. But what is the biggest question around GMO and food consumption in general?
It's interesting, by the way, that when I look at GMO, some of the things that come to my mind is, first of all, I look at the countries that have banned it. I want to find out why. Countries like Luxembourg. Luxembourg has got the highest GDP in the world. Countries like Switzerland, Greece, Hungary, Germany, France, Italy.
Okay.
These are countries that have banned GMOs completely. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Kina Venezuela, Kina Croatia, and then in Africa, Algeria. And one asks themselves, the minister told us that there are 1,000 ways to die.
Yeah.
This is just one of them.
It's not even just being in Kenya is enough.
Which I thought was a color statement, to be very honest, because there are 1,000 ways to die. Just because there are 1,000 ways to die does not mean that tomorrow you'll go running across the highway without looking.
Somebody's not adding just one other one.
Will you just say it's one other way? One, there are several factors. I'll just mention three. Number one is I look at who has banned GMOs, and I would like to find out why. And some of them are some of the most progressive countries in the world. If we find out the why, then we will know why is it that we are taking. And in the same breath of asking the why, who has banned the GMOs, I also want to find out who is offering us the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are the importers? Yeah,
because you see even Bill Gates, for example, is very controversial in terms of these GMO stories. And when you look at the US especially, where I have been to, GMO products are clearly labeled and actually are not very popular.
Wow, okay.
No, they're not. If you go and anything organic in America sells a lot faster.
So than
here. So and then the FDA there, the Federal Drug Agency, because all foods fall under that, will also look at what is approved for the market in terms of what to eat, and it's clearly labeled. You pick something like even what you're having, what are there, and you can see all the ingredients very clearly. In Kenya, we still have that problem where the ingredients we see on, for example, bread are not really the right ingredients. We have brown bread that's not brown; it's dyed. Yeah, we've got funny things here that don't really tell you exactly what you are taking. So it would be nice to know so that people have a choice on whether they put it on their food, on their tables, or not. Number two, I'd like to know who is bringing in the GMO. I wish I could get the list. Because when you follow the money, you get the story. Okay. See, there's some guys to bring in by 10 million bags within 6 months. Who are those people? Which are those companies?
Follow the money, you get the story.
Follow the money and we'll get the story correctly. And then number three, and most importantly, what's the effect short-term and long-term on the farming industry in Kenya? Okay. Those are things that we need to answer. Those are things that we need to talk about without the politics. It's unfortunate that what you mentioned is very true. Yeah. On one hand, we have the former prime minister saying GMOs are terrible. A decade or so ago, they were okay because he was in a regime. We need to remove politicians out of this conversation and just have a conversation. It's not about being right because today you're supporting government and tomorrow it will be wrong because governments that you support will not be in power or anything like that. It should be about the people of Kenya and the issues on what appears on the dinner plates. And one of the saddest things is that for a country that is so richly endowed with agricultural, good conditions, we have good weather, we've got ability to farm, we've got very good soil and things like that. That we should turn to GMOs is one of the saddest things that can ever happen to a prosperous country. These are things that should be happening to desert countries. But how can a desert country like Saudi Arabia ban GMOs?
But even they give us food the other time.
What else do they have to rely on? Those are questions we should ask ourselves. If a desert country can refuse it,
but the desert gave us a food donation the other time.
And they're supposed to be on the back burner. What are we doing ourselves? And for the Ministry of Agriculture and Trade, because I saw the trade minister was the one who kombele sana kwa this story and saying that, we just need to feed Kenyans. Just because we need to feed Kenyans does not mean we need to feed them with anything. Hata ukikuja kwangu, na uko na njaa, na nikupatie chakula ambaye hainuki vizuri, you won't eat it. Sindio? Yeah. Just because you're hungry does not mean that we throw anything at you. Because that's the suggestion. But in your poverty and your poorness and your inability to eat,
you should have anything.
Kula tagalgal. Sure. Okay, for those who don't know.
Kula pepper.
What does that mean? That's a question that we must have, but it must be heard devoid of politics and devoid of partisanness in terms of which way or this way. And the stakeholders must be called. I believe that the stakeholders may not have been
consulted.
I
think that's a big question, because Pauline is even asking, where our own scientists can they give out their research opinion, less of any psychophancy or politics? This should not divide us to our deadbeds. Rosemary Kabugi, GMO food is a silent killer, organic all the way. I think we need to continue having this conversation extensively, and we need to see experts having it. See, not politicians on podiums.
No, I'm not in a bullish manner. No. Not in a bullish manner either. I think the saddest thing is for many people who believed, especially in this government, feeling like that discussion is not allowing them to get on the table to have it. It's more like a foregone conclusion. And given the choice, a lot of people wouldn't opt for it. Is this really where we have figured that we must do this? Sometimes you wish that many of these things would be put into, would be subjects of a referendum. Unfortunately, things like that cannot be. But, as I said, follow the money. If we find out who is bringing in the GMOs,
we'll know the story.
We will know the story.
Follow the money. You'll know the story. We shall continue having the conversation even as we wait to follow whatever it is that we need to follow. It's always a pleasure having you. Give us your tackle of the day. Levi. And you promised this guy, so the show must happen this weekend.
The show must happen this weekend. Me, I'm available. Let's call another guy and start this thing, because it's a discussion that we need to have. And not just this discussion. Kuna discussion mingi za kwanza hii story ya men na hii story ya men being sissies. There's a lady there who has told me that I'm attacked single women. I want to express my sincere thoughts on what I think about that kind of thing, because I know the number one cause of single women mothers is men. If there were no bad men, there would be no single mothers. And men who have
we are the ones who make
and I forgive the ones who died, because that one is an act of God. But those ones who upped and left,
we can accept.
We can accept. But there is, and whether the lady tells me, whether she believes it or not, a man at some point needs a man to input in his life. Most definitely.
Only a man can raise a man, only a woman can raise a woman.
Oh, most definitely. The same thing they will have with women on women. And it's good for women to be there. I make reference again to my church. We have this program, and then they are saying, fathers and boys, wakae kando waonge, mothers and sons, wakae kando waonge. The other day I told them, but you guys are also making a mistake. Fathers should also talk to daughters, and mothers should also talk to sons. There are some things only fathers can tell daughters, and there are some things only mothers can tell sons. But also the converse is true. That sons will need their fathers, or will need the father figures where there are no fathers to be able to step into that space and give guidance and show them what a man would be like. Because whether you're a single mother today or in future, the truth of the matter is your son cannot emulate you 100%. They must get some things from what a man would do. And then that would help them out. But that's a conversation we must have. Now, you talked about the tackle of the day. I think the tackle of the day, we've just spoken about it. I just want to ask government to be more... This government came in on a lot of promises and a lot of hope for people. And we have seen governments in the past do that. 2002, I think there was a lot of hope in this country when Kibaki came in. I don't think we have had another government with as much hope since then like this one. Yeah?
An expectation.
An expectation. There's a lot of expectation, especially for the people that voted for it. And even for those who didn't vote for it, after they have settled, they're like, okay, fine, let's see. What is I think government, first of all, my tackle of the day is for them to just, it's time to to let go the stories of
competition.
Of we agree that it was an act of God. We agree that you are not supposed to be here. We agree that mliteswa. But tufanye kazi sasa. We agree. We cannot keep on saying this weekend after weekend. When will we work?
Saying what exactly? You're not saying. You're saying without saying.
I'm saying.
Just say that.
We know this thing there's all this looking back and talking about what could have happened, how they were so lucky to get in, how God really stood in for them. That's good. Those are testimonies. We've had your testimonies. Now work. It cannot be that we're in a campaign mode. I had some guys. Do you know there were some guys this year? Not this year. There were some guys last week. Did you hear what? I forget his name. There's a politician who asked and said, if the president won while he was seated, Amason Kingi, Senate Speaker. He said, if the president won when you're seated, mnaona 2027 kama hao majamaa watamweza kweli. I was like, really? Really? Are we really going to start talking about 2027? Now, surely, with 100 days not even done, it's time to just focus on the work. You're here now. I think you've gotten used to the banderas and the motorcades and the big offices. Even I had Nani saying, ati anashangaa kama who was it? It was Kericho Senator. Alisema ana joke na Rigiji kama polisi wamemshika ama wajamshika. Okay, all the jokes now are done. Now work. Now you're used to those guys. You are actually being guarded. Yes, you're inside. We have accepted.
Security
now work. And on the work agenda, follow the manifesto. There's a reason why people say there's a plan that we have given you for the next 5 years. Once they give you the plan, it's like you even in your home. Ukikala bibi yako na useme, then 2023, tunataka tununue shamba, tununue nyumba, tununue nini. Then I hear that your wife hears that, sasa badala ya shamba, unataka kwenda kununua gari mpya. You'll be questioned. The people, we must now start questioning you on your manifesto. You can't start telling us that you're going to manufacture phones and your number one agenda was food security. Let's focus. Give us those things. Then let's manufacture surplus. Now let's see what else can we do. You talk value additions. You need value additions sasa. Ndio sasa tuweke sasa value addition. So useme we can do phones, or we can bring in now GMOs, or we can bring in nini. Hizo ni zina fall under value addition of government, but do what you're supposed to do. So to those that work in government and not just to tunaingilia. But I think there's a general feeling of tiredness creeping into the nation. And it's caused by you guys. And this currency of patience cannot be, how do I put it? Don't misuse the currency of patience. It runs out. These same people who are telling you kudos are the same people
will turn against you.
Will troll you tomorrow. These people chased Uhuru Kenyatta out of Twitter. They are still there. Msiwacheze.
Right.
Najarudi, by the way. Even as retired.
He's still traumatized.
These people are still there. They are just biding their time. They are giving you a bit of time. So please use the time wisely.
And read the signs.
Uliona watu wakienda kuchukua pesa IMF na vile watu wakaruka huko wakasema maneno. Uliona ile post.
Petitions.
These people are still there.
They've not gone anywhere. They're just around.
Wameweka tu
anapanguza vyombo vya habari.
Keyboard ninjas wameweka ma keyboard chini kidogo, wanasema tu acha tungoje tuone.
You see the
it will be an avalanche. You'll be putting even a post, unaandika tu post tu vizuri ati God bless you guys. Unanyesha waya. Unaambia blessings gani kwenda? Hata ni hatari squeeze. These are not the Kenyans of 1980.
These ones are crazy. They are watching. Sawa. Bwana nasema ukiona cha mwenzako kikinyolewa chako kitie maji. In tackle of the day pia kabon Sara. And what a powerful tackle of the day. And I think that's it. We need to move. We need to see things happening. It will be interesting to see what's going to happen. Yeah. But Kenyans, I think Kenyans are one of the most dangerous people to deal with. You have to, Kenyans of today, of today.
They're not dangerous. They're just walk.
Because
they walk.
They walk and they watch. They wanakanga wajinga lakini wanajua Kenya wana.
Wanajua tu. People just look at you and know what watu wamesoma. There's a lady there who has said, there's a lady or a gentleman who has said that something about call the scientists.
That is Pauline.
Yeah. People are woke. They know. They know even us we have got people who have watu wamesoma hii Kemri wako huko ndani wamekaa watu wengi. Wengine wako Kari. Wengine wako these other institutions. Why are those guys not being consulted? What are they doing? Because they are earning money as scientists to tell us about things that are happening in this country. And Kenyans know. We also have people here who wamesoma sana. When you talk, unatoa statement, nowadays you cannot even say something fake like you start saying at yo.
Story from now.
Atunajua sijui so and so was the 42nd president of the United States. Unaambiwa no. Umesema uongo.
Uongo hiyo, uongo.
That guy was not even president. People will flag you for a lie so quick. You know.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you. For the tacklers as well who have been with us online. It's always a pleasure to have you. The guys on YouTube and on Facebook. And also the diasporans who stay awake all night to have these conversations. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you also for Mama who was called in all the way from Baringo. It's great to hear from you, and we're looking forward to listening to you as well over the weekend as we have a conversation on men only. So this is a show that is coming up about the issues around men, because being a man these days is a crisis. Ukizaliwa tu kama mwanaume hivi kwanza tabu yako inaanzia hapo. Mahali tu unapiga nduru. Ndio hapo ndio tabu inaanzia. So we need to have a conversation around men issues and things to do with boy child and also the issues of men. So we're coming with the program with LEVI KONES or LEVI KONES on men. We're calling it men only. That doesn't mean that we cannot have women on board, but you can have you, but we're speaking on issues to do with men. Yes. So even we have Kabon Sarah, and we have Sarah on over the weekend on Sunday. We'll be speaking about men issues. Yes, she is a woman, but we'll be about men issues and sons issues. So men only will come to you beginning this weekend as we dissect serious issues, sensitive and even those who are not sensitive, and tell each other the truth. Unasemanga za zingine dawa huko nyumbani unasemanga sagetiek, dawa ya kienyeji.
Sagetiek.
Ni kali akinani. Kabisa. Ni kali lakini kama unataka kupona lazima umeze. Yaani hata harufu peke yake. Ukiweka kwa dose, kwanza inakuanga dose yake inakuwa mrefu all month. Asubuhi ikifikanga hiyo masaa unasikia hata mwili inatetemeka, because you can imagine the way I think, but for you ndio upone lazima umeze. So I think the issues with men has gotten to a point where we must have those very tough and very painful conversations if we are going to heal a generation and redeem it from the grips of hopelessness. Then we must eat it out. This has been the tackle, the Common Sense edition of the 21st of November 2022, and it ends now. See you tomorrow on the State of the Nation edition. Bye bye.